Hello, this is Positive Vibes Enterprise. I am Tom Goodwin. This is Michelle Ronquillo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
And the subject today has to do with locked-in spirituality. And a lot of times people have beliefs in which they aren't allowed to question them. They're not allowed to challenge them. They're really stuck in them, and they're not related to reality. You could be locked in, but you can be locked in a way in which you're locked into reality. You're trying to develop spiritual theories, and I like the word theories better than belief because theories can be improved on. So you try to develop theories that help you to handle reality better, and you're constantly updating and improving them. That means you're not locked in because you're constantly you're locked in a sense to reality is the main thing, but you're not locked into your spiritual theories or beliefs. You're always willing to update them or improve on them.
Yes, exactly. So when you walk in life and you're looking at things that you need to change, and your ego's getting in the way to pride, saying, nah, that's good, I'm doing the right thing, but it's really not. You're denying the things that you need to change, and you're going into a delusional type of thinking, which goes into a locked spiritual mentality that will hurt you tremendously if you do not open up and allow some new open information to help you evolve and better your mission or your theory in your own personal journeys.
And a lot of times people have a very autocratic God in which we're just a baby, and God, we're supposed to be taken care of by God completely, and all we do in cult, they like everybody to be like babies.
Yes.
And then they represent the autocratic, all-powerful God becomes the represented by the cult leader, and then the cult leader dominates, and then they have sort of like a delusional type locked-in belief that goes along with it, which is not related to this reality. It's related to some other afterlife or something, and a lot of times they end in suicide because at a certain point reality is going to get rougher and rougher on them, and they're going to say, well, reality here doesn't count. What counts is the sort of like delusional thing, this wonderful place we're going to get into if we leave this reality. And when you leave reality, this reality, to me, that's when you go into a delusional state. And that's what you have to be careful about, having spiritual beliefs that tend to be delusional, that do not help you to do better in the reality we are in right now. And in the reality we are in right now, it's not doing that well.
Yeah.
We're pretty backwards spiritually right now on this planet. It's pretty obvious with all the serious problems we have. And you can't deal with the serious problems in this world unless you are really concentrating on the reality you exist in there. If you have any part of your spirit that is delusional or trying to escape from this reality, you have spiritual theories that enable you to focus, that tend to contribute to you focusing outside of this reality. Then you're not going to be able to be all in to the hard, challenging world we exist in that can bring out the most in our spirit.
Now, there's things that different cults and different religions that are related to controlling the person in the essence, when they take the focus away from the spirit of the inside. We are creators. We are part of the universe. We are part of the creating process, because creating and creation is always moving. It's always flowing, and we are part of that creation. So when anybody tries to take it away from the person or you, or try to take the power of the universe creation that you naturally were born, came into this world with, that's a red line. You need to stop and reality base, check it out on the locked in spirituality that this person is throwing at you.
And I mean, you can have a more realistic belief or theory related to the universal spirit. And what that would do is that a universal spirit understand, takes into account that we are the frontline spirits, that we are the ones that have, the most on the line. So therefore, we have to be the most responsible in the reality we exist in. Therefore, we play a very strong role spiritually. It's not all God doing everything.
No, because it's us in the actions that are experiencing, that we get to witness what God is, what the universe is through the things that we do in our actions, because we're witnessing it, we're feeling it. And emotions power the spirit. So understanding that it comes from you, as you, by you, through you, you get the empowerment that you need to rise above these types of controlling, locked-in spirituality.
And you have to think of God as representing the reality we exist in. And you have to see this physical reality that we exist in as being made specifically for us, to be the best for us, basically, if we utilize it, learn from it, and utilize it to the best of our ability. If we do not try to understand the reality we exist in, and we do not try to develop spiritual theories that enable us to do the best in it, we won't understand how this reality is designed perfectly for what we require as a habitat, and to function at the best spiritually, and to challenge us and all. I mean, if we don't have a physical universe, we cannot be challenged, because the physical universe produces the resistance. That's what it's defined as.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, anything
that goes into quantum physics.
Any type of reality that produces resistance that you have to go up against is going to be, by definition, called a physical reality. That's just the basis of it. It doesn't have to have the same molecules or the same anything else. But as long as you have a resistant environment that challenges you, that is a physical reality. And the spirit needs to be in these physical realities.
Yeah.
Because if it has nothing to challenge it, how can it prove?
How can we evolve? How can we grow?
How can we prove that we're actually effective or good at anything? How can we contribute if we don't have something to go up against to make our contributions worth something?
Well, also, too, in understanding, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody is. But here's the thing. If you don't try the experiences, and if you don't try the witnesses, how can you ever learn the contrast from right and wrong? And people hold on to deny the issues. They don't want to be wrong. They hold on to the pride. The ego gets in the way. They're locked in spiritually, thinking that they're right, or they don't have to admit it, or they can hide it, maybe because of peer pressure, or how they might be viewed by the outside world. Those are the things that need to stop. You cannot deny when you mess up. You face it, you move on, and then you correct it. You have to have pride in everything. In pride of your past, in pride of your future, in pride of your now. Because the confidence of who you are is going to make that open-minded view come open, because you're willing, you want to seek. You want to hear. You want to collect as much information as you possibly can without being locked in or saying that you can't have a voice, that you have to be a unity of voice. No, you're an independent voice.
And one of the things, we all have our own thing to contribute. We have our own value.
Yes.
And we are individual spirits, autonomous individual spirits that have our own value and need to, and are only, we're responsible for ourselves. We can't allow anybody else to take over responsibility for what we are. Because it's very important that we have self-responsibility. And that's how you develop spiritual strength. You can't get, you're not going to, if you depend on somebody else for your spiritual strength, you are setting yourself up.
Yes.
You have to develop it within yourself, your own spiritual strength, because when a crisis hits or whatever, you're not always going to have the other person or somebody else around. you always end up at certain points being reliant only on yourself without having somebody else to help you out or whatever.
And here's the thing. I'm going to say this right now. When I tell people that they have to rely on themselves, be responsible for self, that is connected to the universe. So whatever you want to say that is connecting, or God, or anything that you want to say, is through you, by you, because you are connecting to the universe when you align yourself with the proper things that you need to do to evolve yourself. And one of them is swallow the pride, admit you're wrong, and listen to others. Don't assume. It's so bad when you assume things that aren't correct, and then that's how you get delusions as well. That's how you get locked, because as you assume instead of opening your mouth and asking, and then you find out, hey, you know what, I was wrong, because feelings aren't facts. And a wise person has taught me that as well. And it's wonderful that as you walk in this world, you understand that no assuming. You ask, you speak up, and then you get the facts. That's what we want. We want reality-based facts.
And when we talk about self-responsibility, this world is complicated. There's a lot of variables.
Yes.
People always like to take a one-sided perspective in this world, and then that's how it creates wars, because we always have this polarization, it seems, and where we have, particularly in politics recently in the USA and stuff like that, where you have such extreme polarization, and you have all this. And people love far-out theories, conspiracy theories and stuff, because which are very one-sided and tend to scapegoat or make certain groups out to be a lot more negative than they actually are and stuff like that. So you need to develop a ability to deal with multiple sides at once and to see all perspectives, not to get a distorted perspective.
Don't get locked. Research.
Yeah, because distorted perspectives are what create a lot of these crazy conspiracy theories, flat Earth, and all kinds of ridiculous stuff. And then you talk about cults. Well, cults tend because once you have an autocratic God, then you can get one-sided very easily, because and then you're going to get in trouble whenever you have one person trying to be everything to everybody, because one person is limited. So any weaknesses in that individual is going to get exaggerated because they can't be everything.
Well, red flags are definitely when somebody tries to take off the focus of your spiritual strength, your spiritual gifts, your spiritual creativities, and put it on them. No, that's red flag right there. And number 2 is keeping you away from your positive, reaffirming support system. Everybody grows up with a support system, and if these cults or somebody's trying to tell you to cut them off, that should be a red flag, because everybody needs that understanding that in your own independence, you will find somebody that loves you for you and wants you to shine your independence. So don't walk away from them. Hold them closer.
And the thing is, you need to be connected with the world around you.
Yes.
That's the reality you exist in. If you get cut off from the world around you, that's how you can get into beliefs that are cult-like, or which are damaging to your ability to, cope with reality really well. So one of the things is, a lot of times cults will sort of like say, destroy the ego, get rid of the ego, but you have to, basically what you need is a healthy ego. If your ego is too inflated, it's going to get into trouble with your spiritual growth, because you won't see the need to grow.
That's right.
If your ego is destroyed, then there's going to be an ego no matter what. The ego is going to be the cult leader, or it's going to be the all-powerful God who become in the belief in that God. In other words, sometimes people's ego has to do with the religious organization they are part of. But there's always an ego that always identifies strongly with something and will push it as being superior in one way or another. And if you squash your own ego, you're going to need that sense of well-being come from somewhere. And so they're going to say, well, I'm part of this organization that makes me superior. I'm part of this cult that makes me superior. Or I'm part of something else that makes you superior.
Yeah, you need to.
And it's not very grounding when you get that kind of a connection. Whereas your ego is reality-based, and your ego says, well, I'm looking at this world and I see these people starving and I see all these serious problems out here, and I'm not contributing enough to do it, you're going to be humbled by the problems of the world. And your ego is going to say, well, this is what I'm good at. I'm good at contributing this way. I can't handle this problem. That's a problem. I'm going to need the help of I need to work with other people or have somebody else focus on that area. And that has a lot to do with how you avoid cults, is that you value all the different diversity in the way of human abilities. Correct. And what they can contribute, because we need everybody to work together. We do not need these single individuals to take over as a dictator.
That's right. And it is true. We need everybody's talents and strengths. One man's weakness is another man's strength. So that's why in unity, as it should be in the universe, we all beat our own drum and add to the mix. We are creators that bring on the confidence, the strength, the voice, the change that we want to see. And that comes from not somebody taking away your power, but empowering you. So anything that is empowering you is your positive connection that you need to go back for more, because it's literally helping you get to the mission of why you're here.
And that's so important. Is the mission why you're here has a lot to do with working with other people.
Yes.
Contributing in cooperation with other people.
And unity.
I mean, you're responsible for your part of it, and you have to have that individual responsibility and that accountability to yourself. But you also have to have a side of you that understands that it's not you alone in this world, that this is a cooperative venture, that we cannot improve reality unless we have a whole team of people working together to handle the problems that exist here. So we have to be able to, we have to do our individual contribution within the team, but we can't do everything because we're only one person. So we have to understand our limitations as an individual, our benefit of being an individual, but along with our limitation. As I have to tell people, it's just our reality is very complicated. And so many times these spiritual organizations will try to simplify our reality or distort our reality in order to make it easier to understand, but they make it too easy to understand. They can't, a lot of times they can't deal with the fact that there's always mystery.
Yes.
There's always going to be a part of it you don't understand. You're not going to have a conspiracy theory that fits everything together perfectly. People want to have conspiracy theories or simplistic beliefs that make everything come together and, oh boy, this is wonderful, I understand this completely. But that's not how reality works. Reality, you always have to be a detective. It's constant mystery.
Yes.
And that's what's good, because the mind needs constant mystery, because that means the mind will always be searching, always be in exercise, and always be able to develop. And we won't, locked in spirituality, it will have an end game. They'll say at a certain point you don't have to do this anymore.
Yeah.
In other words, you can escape from it at a certain point. Well, if you really appreciate our reality, you appreciate that it's a constantly changing,
constantly moving,
challenging, changing,
yes.
And there's always mystery, and you don't always get all the information.
Yes.
You don't always get all the facts, and you have to live with it. In other words, if something happens and there's a bunch of pieces missing, you don't fill the pieces in and create a conspiracy theory. You just understand that the pieces just weren't available. At
the moment. I mean, it's always creating, so the answers might be there later. You put that one aside, you multipass, and you go on to evolve.
Yeah, but if the pieces never come together, you just say, well, you look back in past history, and you're going to find that some history wasn't written, and you're never going to get it back. And it's always going to be a mystery, and you just have to live with it, that sometimes some things are not seen, sometimes some facts never come out because it just wasn't there. Meaning some facts just aren't, there weren't any witnesses to. They happened, but there weren't any witnesses, so you have no way of knowing what exactly happened. And that's the way it is. Sometimes conditions are really foggy, so you don't know if the ship hit a rock or it bumped into another ship or whatever, because there was too much fog.
Yes.
And then what are you going to do? Oh, we didn't have any fog. This guy clearly saw everything, and this is what really happened. And then you get the conspiracy theory of what really happened, because there was fog or something that made it so that certain certain facts or information just wasn't available, and left a little few pieces of the jigsaw puzzle unattainable.
Yes. Well, let's talk about issues from your past. Sometimes people literally woulda, coulda, shoulda, and looked for the mysteries in their past, which there's nothing you can do about it. The healthiest place is in the moment and going forward. The things in the past are to look at, to analyze, to research, and to understand as much as you can. You do not get stuck in a locked situation of looking for things that you cannot change anyway. You just want to get a confirmation of something, but the universe is constantly moving. Creation is always moving. Things are always moving. So you must collect the information that you can, stay in the moment, and move on. Anything from the past that is too trivial to stop, waste your time with, don't do it. You're gonna get lost, and you're not gonna understand that your mission is to go forward. Your mission is to evolve with the understandings of the bits and pieces that you do have.
And usually the most relevant information you're going to have access to, but you don't have to know everything. And there's always unsolvable things.
Yeah.
Like the reason we have the trial for trial by jury is because we understand that a lot of times you're not going to be able to prove something. So we said, so we have innocent until proven guilty. In other words, we're not going to set up a thing where we're trying to find out if somebody, there has to be a guilty party. So therefore we're going to frame somebody or force guilt on somebody because we know that that's supposed to be. In other words, we want a certain conclusion. The reason we have the trial for by jury is because we know that a lot of times there's not enough information, and we can't get enough information. So there's going to be unsolved mysteries, unsolved problems. And that's part of life. You don't worry about the things that you don't have enough information on. You just try to do the best you can. And when you have accurate information, when you have reliable information, then you make the most of it. But you only make the most of reliable information. You don't try to jump and make conclusions that are not solid enough.
You know, I love that word, assume. It makes an ass out of you and me. And it always goes into the fact that when you create a conclusion in your head and it's not based on factual stuff, you're in a delusion. And when people get used to doing that and they don't really investigate anything in the reality-based sense, they become delusional and they don't make any sense of reality-based topics. So you have to be able to be willing to be open to say, hey, I don't know, or hey, I was wrong, or, you know, hey, why don't I investigate a little bit more in that? You need to be a seeker for that knowledge, not assume or create in your head, but understand that there is always constantly moving energies of creation, and reality-based facts are there, and you take that and you trust your gut and you go forward. And, you know, in science, sometimes it goes down to the best guess. But guess what? The best guess is still based on reality-based facts, research, and different experiences. Because in spirituality, you have to experience to feel God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, because it powers the spirit. Emotions power the spirit, so that is where you're going to find God.
And in guessing, you could say that creativity is sort of like a guessing game. Will this work? Will that work? So you question things and then you make guesses, and then you test. You know, after you make the guess, you test it and see how well it works, and then you're going to find, well, it worked somewhat good, but there was something that needed to be tweaked here or there. And that's what I find with being a spiritual pioneer and having developed a whole lot in a new astrology system and all. I've found it's very humbling. Well, the more spiritual you get, the more humbling it becomes. Because you find so often your guesses are wrong, that your inspiration is wrong. But it's not totally wrong. You don't want to, in other words, when you get inspiration, it's not a right or wrong question. It's a case of how much closer is it drawing you to what's really true. And so you make these guesses, and then you find they're not working that well. Then you'd say, well, how can I improve upon where I'm at? I'm not going to throw it all out because it didn't work.
That's right.
Because the thing is, the fact you got that and you thought it was good at one time means that it had some value. It just wasn't good enough. And a lot of times that's the way it is. You're always trying to get better at it, but you will not be totally off, meaning the truth is not as clear-cut as a locked-in person would think it is. It's something that can be very tricky. And therefore, in other words, a truth spirit, that's quantum physics, where you have all this, where that which works will come out, and so that something will develop out of randomness, because that which is random is going to hit things that work every once in a while, and then something's going to grow from that, and then the things that work within that patch of things that are working better will work even better. And that's how that would be a scientific theory that a lot of scientists would understand, that where it's out of randomness can come out, because the things that work tend to survive. It's survival of the fittest. So you're going to end up out of randomness, come up with really wonderful universes that work really well. And of course you got the help of God, the spirit that will make sure that God create, I don't take created because we can't use the word created, because that takes away our own empowerment, because as long as we have to be an eternal force too in order to have, have equal power, in which, we're as important a part, individual spirit, as the universal spirit. So you don't want to say created, but maintains a universe that has that principle in it, that works will take over that which does not work, that which is not doing something to create structure and things that are of value. And of course, what are they going to be of value of? Well, there's going to be a certain impetus towards developing that which will serve the individual spirit that exists in this universe. And not only that, but the individual spirits that exist in the universe are a vital part of the universe. So therefore, they're going to need a habitat. So therefore, there's going to be impetus within the universe to develop habitats that will serve the individual spirits, which are a very important part of our universe because they're empowered. Empowerment is so important to individual spirits. Science may tend not to see the value of spirituality, but it's not like science is coming out with all this wonderful stuff that's going to help this world develop further spiritually and be able to handle, all these serious problems that we have now as a result of science not having the spirituality working with it that can help human beings to live in a more civil and healthy manner on this planet.
Yeah, I think that it's important when you're not locked in, you can accept the royalty given gift of gratitude. When you breathe in gratitude, you understand that everything that you have, everything that you've created, everything that's around you is a part of you inside and out. Now, the outside forces that are out there, the rooted ancestral energies that Tom was mentioning, are there to empower everybody with those energies that we have the strength, we have the knowledge, we have the ability to put it in action. We pull in the no, but in understanding that, we must go forward into actions. We look at it, we analyze it, we see what needs to be done, and then we make a decision and we do it. We experience, and that is the true closeness of God that you can actually be, is because you're trusting your gut, you're walking in hope and faith of who you are, because we're testing, we're we're just trying out, we're best guessing, and we're gonna walk it, and we're gonna try it out, and if we fail, hey, we know another way not to do, and we're gonna go the other way. But it must be done by you, and pull in those energies from the roots that are around us.
And a lot of times science says, well, they don't seem to understand, that the spiritual exists at all. But what I say is you have to use the meditative technique. You have to train your spiritual senses to work.
Yeah.
And there's a part of us that most people understand is important. In other words, most people aren't extremists to the point that they don't understand that spiritual exists at all, because they have the intuition, they have the sense that, understand it's an unseen, emotionally motivated part of this universe that is spiritual. And if you train yourself, those senses, with meditative techniques, or even prayer and other any kind of spiritual technique to focus on breathing and looking deeply within yourself and connecting with that which is very emotional in impact in this world, because emotion does power the spiritual. And if you find somebody that doesn't believe in the spiritual, a lot of times they're going to be people that are not the most capable of a lot of passion and feeling.
They're going to be a lot of rage.
They're going to be
arrogance. That was a great point. A lot of 99% of the time, I've walked into locked in spiritual people that have so much arrogance. I mean, it's amazing. You have to get rid of the arrogance and the prideful ego of this right. I have to be right. You have to get rid of that if you want to be able to have that open-minded view that is so needed in this world.
I think we have covered it. It says video output.
Yes, so we're
gonna culminate it, but I think we covered the subject really well.
Yes.
This is part of Life Enterprise. The subject was locked in spirituality.
Yes, please leave a comment. Please subscribe. Please share. We want to get it out there and moving, so the voices can be heard. The voices can come in. That we can talk about more things. And thank you so much.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and spread the word, because we're not reaching
We're ready.
We're not reaching enough people, and we want to develop a bigger team. We actually want to reach an awful lot of people, and we're not into being dominating cult-type figures.
Yeah,
we're not into self-glorification. We're just trying to make this world a better place, and anybody that sees the news or whatever realizes we have a lot of work.
Grab onto your loved ones. Hold them tight. Hold them tight for the positive reaffirmment of you. Know who you are. Be empowered by your walks every day. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you.